Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are looking at AbCellera and Biologics. This was a stock analysis request from one of the followers, and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests, and I'll most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. And in the case of this chart, we do have, quite apparently, an all-time downtrend, but I'm tracking this actually as an ABC movement to the downside, and this is my preferred interpretation, and in this case we actually don't need any additional lows. And not only that, but we have already formed a quite interesting structure to the upside, very uncommon for such charts to build such a clear, even potentially an impulse to the upside within a 5-wave move from their all-time lows, but this one actually managed to do it, and there is a lot of promise that can be going on within this area that could allow us to track at least another 5-wave move to the upside. Now, at this point, I could actually even track this as a potential 1-2 setup, in which case we would expect a third wave to unfold, afterwards a fourth and a fifth to build an even larger initial wave 1, and we would then have another 5-wave move to the upside, another potential for an entry within a wave 2 correction. But the thing is, even within this structure, I cannot promise you that it will indeed be a wave 3, and for it to even be considered a reliable wave 3, we would need to get at least to the ideal target of such a movement, which is the 138.2% extension of the wave 1, which is around the $18.5 level in this case. At least to that level we need to get to actually be able to track with some confidence a wave 4 correction and not just a larger ABC movement. Because you see, even though we are able to track here a larger ABC movement to the downside, it works out quite nicely. I am also able to track this as a double 1-2-1-2 setup, in which case, an ABC structure within this area would not be uncommon at all. But even within this wave C, we could see at least continuation within this 5-wave move to the upside. This could still be interesting even if it only builds a wave C. And for that, we would have here the ideal target at the 100% extension of the wave A, which is the $11.5 level. So there is certainly a lot of potential here on this chart, and there will continue to be as long as we hold here the area of support for a potential correction in a wave 2. Again, this could be a wave 2, could be a wave B, but we have here the levels between the $4 all the way down to the $2.5 point at the 78.6% retracement. In both corrections, whether this is a wave 2, whether this is a wave B, we are tracking this exact area of support, and we are looking for continuation within at least another 5-wave move to the upside. And this is not to say it's impossible to break it. Already, if we see a break below the 78.6% retracement in a sustained manner, the probabilities shift heavily to a more significant top being in place, but at this point, we are really already out of the area of support. We may have even formed a bottom already. Although I might prefer continuation lower, I cannot rule out the possibility of a bottom being in place. Because even within this internal structure, while it doesn't need to be a 5-wave move to the downside that is tracked within this area, it certainly is possible. And I could be considering this to be a 1, 2, 3, 4th, and a 5th. This could work out as a wave A. And I will be tracking just that within this interpretation that, let's say we use the yellow scenario that could allow a reset of the wave 2 correction. Now, even this reset would not make me look with low probability for continuation higher. It would actually work out even better because we would have another opportunity for an entry, and we would have a more clearly defined 3-wave move to the downside. But if we see a break above the 78.6% retracement in the yellow area, the $5.6 level, it is a strong signal that this structure has already likely formed a bottom within the wave 2, and a fifth wave, or not a fifth wave, a third wave would be emerging to the upside, or at the very least a wave C. Now, the thing is, within this wave 3, we expect to form an impulse. If I see an ABC movement, I will not be tracking that as a wave 1, I will be tracking that as, well, not a wave 1 of a wave 3, I will be tracking that as a wave 1 of a larger wave C. Now, unfortunately for an entry, we are already out of the area of support. We didn't catch it when it was within the area of support, and unfortunately, we don't have a clear 5-wave move to the upside within this area to track an internal 1-2 setup, at least not at the moment. One could still work out to build within this movement to the upside, and we will be tracking that. Although, based on the internal structure, I have to say, this looks more likely to form an ABC movement within this area, in which case, a wave B might even make more sense. Now, this is not to tell you to sell your positions or to look for an exit. This is, after all, still on a relatively small time frame, and from a larger time frame perspective, a bottom could be in place. We did get into the area of support. I can track this also as a 3-wave move to the downside. It doesn't need to have continuation lower, and we can track continuation in a follow-up movement from the current lows. Yeah, again, we don't need any additional lows. We may even get an additional area of support if we manage to build a 5-wave move to the upside within this area. But it is just that within the internal structure, it isn't necessarily suggestive of continuation once this movement to the upside is actually complete. Sure, it could still work out, but yeah, the pattern is suggestive that we may be building instead an ABC movement, and that is mainly due to the fact that within this initial push to the upside, we have formed here rather an ABC structure than a 5-wave move to the upside. And I can actually give you even another example of how this could work out. We could have bottomed here within the wave 2. Yeah, this could have been a truncation. In this case, we could be looking here at a potential 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th to form an initial 5-wave move to the upside. But unfortunately, this would be within a small time frame, and yeah, it would be quite difficult to look for a reliable trade setup within this structure because yeah, we just don't have a clearly defined structure. I could track this still part of a wave 3, and in fact my preferred interpretation for this structure would consist of tracking this as something like an ABC movement to the upside, in which case we could witness a top sooner rather than later, and I would still like to see continuation higher. Yeah, even within the correction in the wave B, I would actually like to see here something like a 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th to consider a more likely top. This count does still have some room for an additional high, although a top being in place is also not impossible. And for those who are still looking for an opportunity, we might need to be a little patient here because, again, within the larger time frame, the area of support is still very interesting. Even a retest of it may be interesting, but from a smaller time frame perspective, we do seem to be building a corrective pattern to the upside, and I just don't have evidence that at bottom is in place and that we should expect with high probabilities continuation higher. Now, if we build here this 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th, it might work out, but until then, yeah, we need to be patient. Now, for support, for direct continuation higher, as I was mentioning, I would like to see here at least a 4th and a 5th, and within this area, I would be tracking the levels for a wave 4 correction. Yeah, those would be between the 23.6% retracement, but it would be for a diagonal structure, in which case I would be allowing all the way down to the 61.8% retracement at the $3.8 level. So the correction area starts at the $4.2 level, but we can allow it to retrace all the way down to the 3.8. Now keep in mind, we are still consolidating at a very high level. Direct extensions higher are possible, and we may need to adjust this area of support in the end, but for now, yeah, we cannot really tell based on this time frame the exact pattern we should realistically expect. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.